Mass Transit District Board of Directors meeting for March 27th, 2014. We have one presentation tonight. It's from Trillium Trip Planning Project, and there'll be a consent calendar, and which contains only minutes from previous regular and special board meetings and routine business matters. We have no action items tonight. We're scrubbing the courthouse square issue because we don't have one. We have two information items tonight. One is the report on the American Public Transportation Association's legislative conference, and the final update on the courthouse square move. We'll conclude with a number of reports and from various people. Anyway, I will open the meeting, and we'll begin. Linda, please call, note the attendance, and we call ourselves to order. Our Pledge of Allegiance tonight is by me, and please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Announcements and changes to the agenda. The one change I already noted, and we do have one announcement tonight, and I'll let you.
Ask Sue Dreyer to make that announcement.
Good evening, President Thompson and members of the board. I'd like to make an introduction tonight, and I'm sure some of you may recognize Gene Schaefer. Gene came to us. He's now an employee of Salem-Keizer Transit. And he's actually been working with us over the last year on a couple special projects within operations, one of them being carts, getting all the signs changed out, and the other helping out as an operations supervisor during vacation times. But recently he has been applied for and chosen for the position of medical transportation administrator. What the position will be doing is really overseeing the transition from DMAP to the CCOs, overseeing our private providers and the brokerage services that go through the call center. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce Gene Schaefer. For those of you that do know him, he worked formerly for OHAS, so we're happy to have him here.
Yes, Kate.
I do remember him when he was with OHAS, and I'm excited that you're going to be exchanging out the cart signs, and I don't want to put you on a spot, so please don't feel the need to answer, but there's no cart sign in Staten on First and First still, so.
And he has an answer for that.
I have that answer.
Okay.
Back in 2006, when they did the shelter project, Staten was approached about putting shelter stops, and they didn't want anything to do with it. And so during one of the projects I was working on we had stops out there that aren't marked, Staten being the number one. So I've talked with the public utilities worker and gave him the files, everything we had, and he was going to take it to their council. And I never heard back, and since then I've moved on. We did hire a contractor because actually those streets don't belong to Staten.
Oh.
The first street is actually Highway 213, I guess it is. And the Washington Street, where the other stops are county roads. Right-of-ways are their roads. So I believe the contractor is going to contact them and then also work with the city and see about getting those marked.
Okay, and then the other question that I always ask when somebody gets newly hired is, why did you want to work for Salem-Keizer Transit?
Well, when my career ended at OHAS, when we were out of transportation programs, I had the good fortune of being hired for these projects and working in fixed route. And in the process, I have probably worked with every department at SKT, IT, marketing, transportation, development, and I liked the people I was working with. They were helpful, got me pointed in the right direction. I just liked the culture that's here. And when this position came open, it was like dream come true, because my start, I had a medical transportation provider company for 10 years. And so it's kind of come full cycle that now I can oversee that program. And I mentioned in my interview, I'm excited about the challenges and uncharted territory we're facing with the CCO transition. And there's some challenges in uncharted territory we've already run into, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Gene?
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And we look forward to working with you, and it's a natural fit. I can see it perfectly. So,
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, next item is a presentation.
Right, I'd ask Jared Chalk to please introduce this process.
President Thompson and members of the board, I'm excited to talk with you this evening about a project that we've been working on for a while now called Open Trip Planner. As many of you are probably aware, several years ago, the Transit District invested in what's called the General Transit Feed Specification. Don't worry, there's no test at the end. GTFS is the file format that allowed our transit data, our schedules and our routes and all of that information to be used by third parties, most notably Google Transit. So when our customers go out and use Google Maps, they can trip plan. They can plan a route from here to here using a car, bicycle, or transit. So anyway, that was an exciting investment. But while it is a good tool, there are some shortfalls of that Google Maps tool that has become somewhat ubiquitous. It lacks flexibility, meaning that we have little control over what Google Maps does or how it chooses to plan trips. So there can be instances where our transit system has a particular strength in one area, and we can't control the transfer time window using Google Maps, something like that. It lacks the capability for doing branding. It is ultimately Google's tool. It's proprietary, meaning that they may change the terms of the contract at essentially any time. And it has only limited multimodal features, meaning somebody that wants to, say, go from bicycle to bus to bicycle has limited trip planning capability through the Google Maps tool. That problem hasn't gone unnoticed in the industry, and our neighbor to the north, TriMet, actually, a little over a year ago, unveiled their own trip planning tool, which was based almost entirely on open source technology. Open Trip Planner is what the product that they were using. After seeing that, we made several site visits up to TriMet to learn how their system worked, and we entered into a partnership with them to learn more about that product and to start implementing our own version. That partnership included using TriMet resources. They had a crack team of interns up there that were used to cleaning up map data. The Open Trip Planner tool relies on what's called OpenStreetMaps. Again, no worries, there's no test. OpenStreetMap layer is like a Wikipedia of maps, essentially. It's an open source, community-developed, community-driven map base, which is not proprietary, like the Google map base. We contracted with TriMet, and they helped us clean up our map layer for the Salem-Keizer transit area, which is kind of the precursor to being able to do anything else. That work was completed many months ago, and at which time we contracted with Trillium to take that GTFS feed that we already had, to take this OpenStreetMap layer that we had been improving, to add it with some other open source tools and implement our own version of Open Trip Planner. That trip planner exists today in what I'll call an alpha release. And basically what that means is it's live and it's out there, but there's no links to it. Nobody really knows that it's there, and the intention really isn't to have people go and to use it, but it is a product that is nearing completion. We're hopeful in the late spring, say in the May timeframe, to go into what's called a beta release. And what that is we'll have a link on our website that points to the mapping tool and says, try out this trip planning tool, send us your thoughts. We'll stay there for several months. And in the fall, our plan is to enter into production. And what that would mean is that it's no longer just a link off of the website, but when you plan a trip on our website, it routes you to the Open Trip Planner instead of to Google Maps. Now, Google Maps will still be available for anybody that wants it. We'll have a link to that as well. It's just that instead of sending them to the proprietary tool, we'll send them to the open source tool that we have much greater management of to provide them with a better experience overall. So Aaron has agreed to come and do a brief presentation on the project. I asked him to keep it to under 60 minutes, but no less than 45 minutes. That wasn't a joke, so I don't. Yes, it was. But anyway, it'll be a brief demonstration about what the product looks like. A little bit about the kind of the underlying layers of how the Open Trip Planner works, and hopefully he or I can field any questions that you might have. So, Aaron.
Right. Thanks, Jared. President Thompson and members of the board. I'm happy to be here today and talk about Open Trip Planner, talk about open data, and give a demonstration and answer your questions. So my name is Aaron Antrim, and my small firm Trillium is based in Portland, and we also worked with the firm that originally developed this software called Conveyal. So our role has been to coordinate customizing and further developing this Open Trip Planner software for Salem and implementing and hosting the software on a server. So what is Open Trip Planner? It's multimodal transit routing. What does that mean? If we want to go from, say, 4990 River Road, if we want to go from the Keizer Safeway to Lancaster Mall, we can enter in those points and get a transit trip. So we see our first option here is 31 minutes, involves 3 transfers. And now, as a customer, I might wonder, well, could I get a faster trip if I bring my bike along? Let's see if we get an answer to that question. No, not really. But perhaps there are other trips where I can get a faster trip. Here's an example. A trip where I get a faster overall trip by using transit with my bicycle. So here's the transit-only option. It's 47 minutes. And then the transit with bike option cuts it to 27 minutes because those transfers, those extra legs of the trip can add so much. So it's really helping people use transit in a new way. And it's possible here to also get to adjust some of the parameters for my bike trip. So if I'm a less aggressive or experienced cyclist, I can choose that I want a very flat bike-friendly trip, and we'll see if we can change the result at all. And we're not really getting a changed result. I guess this is probably, there's not a lot of street options here in the downtown. Yeah.
And it's flat.
And I could confirm that. If I'm not familiar with the area, I can confirm that by looking at an elevation graph right here. If we want to look at a different trip, here's a bike-only trip. And this shows me an elevation graph for that trip. But I could compare to see, what can I do with transit, for example. So that's Open Trip Planner. It has the functions of Google Maps with more. So as Jared said, the differences are this is something that the district can control more because the source code is open. If the district or any transit agency wants changes to Google Maps, they can send those requests to Google, and Google can just do nothing, which is what they might often do, or consider them and get back in a few years. But this is something that's much more within control of the district. And some of the fundamental features here are that it's using that existing open data. It's using the general transit feed specification data, so it's an extension continuing on this earlier investment in data, and it's also using OpenStreetMap. So this is what OpenStreetMap looks like here in Salem. Let me, I'm going to go out of the edit mode. Edit, no. I'll go back into the edit mode. So this is what OpenStreetMap looks like in Salem, and I can zoom in on different features, roads, paths, etc., bike paths, and edit information about that. It's the Wikipedia of maps, and it's been successfully used in Portland to assemble together a lot of data that otherwise didn't exist or would have been difficult to exist. And so that can be used for the bike and pedestrian routing functions. So look at it, openstreetmap.org. You could even go home tonight and improve data in Salem if you wanted to. Google Maps and OpenTripPlanner are not the only pieces of software that use this general transit feed specification data. Microsoft's Bing Maps uses general transit feed specification data to include the district, to include Chariot service in their Bing Maps. And there's other mobile and desktop applications out there that do this. So again, this is continuing to further this investment in the in leveraging and doing more with less with this open GTFS data. Any questions so far? I figure instead of talking at you, I'll break and see if anyone has questions.
Right. My question is, you just mentioned that other providers besides Google Map and this open trip link or whatever,
Right.
You said no test. Do they access the same information? You people have been working on cleaning up the geographical information in the database. Do they access that groomed data as well?
Jared, do you want to answer that question, or do you want me to?
Yeah, sure, I can.
Okay.
It's a combination. The GTFS feed that we put out several years ago, it's just published on our website, and anybody that wants to can come and access. There's a little legalese before you access it, but anybody can download it, and some people do. Google does, and Microsoft accesses that data as well. They download it every week from our server.
Good.
There. So that's good. OpenStreetMaps, that Wikipedia of maps, there are other entities that use. I don't think that Bing or Google does, but I think like MapQuest might.
I think so, yes.
MapQuest does, and I think there's some other organizations that do use that data as well. So different organizations are using different pieces of the data that we have made accessible.
So in summary, each application might combine different data sets in its own way. Bing has their own street layers, as does Google.
Other questions? Yes, Steve.
Can you access 1X? Does it go to Wilsonville? I mean,
To 1X?
the 1X goes out of town?
Yeah.
Is this just in town or?
No,
Oh,
this
yeah,
is,
that's true.
this is set up so that we can plan trips to Wilsonville. I think we had a few issues with that route alignment. We're still working on some data cleanup. Let's see. So here it's showing us the 1X route. Let's see, actually departing from Wilsonville.
Does it give you a time?
Yeah, so this is for tonight, a departure at 6:37, and then arriving in Salem downtown 37 minutes later at 7:14. Can you see this on the? I know it's a little bit blurry, isn't it? And then a connection here to line 16, to where
So out-of-town folks could plan a trip around Salem by.
Yeah, it's designed to include all of the SKT routes. And since this is using standard data sets, one of the things that Jared has brought up, and I think one of the advantages that he perceives in OpenTripPlanner is that it uses standard data sets. And so our neighbor to the north, TriMet has GTFS data. They also have clean and scrubbed OSM data. So it's very easily possible to expand the scope of
That was
this
my next question.
trip planner
Yeah.
to any agency with very little cost, to any agency that has that data ready to go.
So I could plan in West Salem, I could plan a trip downtown Portland, eventually.
Eventually, yes.
And it would tell me how much time.
Yes, yeah.
Bob?
Is this going to basically just be transit, or is it going to bring in Greyhound and some of the other intercity carriers if we get into like Wilsonville and so forth?
I'm going to try and answer that question, Jared, and you can correct me if I answer it wrongly. But I think that probably a broad geographic scope for this application probably would place unnecessary burden on Salem-Keizer Transit to cull all that data together and keep it all current. Whereas it might be more beneficial to focus on the agencies where customers frequently transfer to. However, there is Google Maps, and there is an Oregon statewide GTFS effort. And so I don't know if we want to go that far into the demo, but if you want, I could show you how it's possible to use Google Maps to plan trips on Oregon's intercity network, including Salem-Keizer Transit. So they're two somewhat different use cases. One extremely broad in scope, that's Google Maps. The other very targeted at the frequent SKT user and more in control of the district, and that's Open Trip
Okay,
Plan.
well, that's one of the problems Google Maps has, is that it doesn't differentiate between different types of carriers, and sometimes you might get routed on, for instance, if you want to go from here to IKEA in Portland, they would send you up on the Hut limousine.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if you didn't know any other way to get there, it's Hut limousine, then transfer to TriMet to take it back to IKEA.
Yep. Yeah, because they offer the most direct trip there
Right.
to the airport.
Where there are other ways to get there that are a lot cheaper.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, good question.
Other questions? Brad, you must have some questions since you're the bike rider here.
I guess the one question that I would have is, with it being open source, can someone delete data? Or how do you make sure that the data that's there as you're cleaning it up doesn't get changed by someone else in a negative way?
Sure. So open source doesn't mean that the application is fully open. This is still installed on a server that only certain people have security credentials to get into and edit that application. And that source code is available for developers who want to do their own instances and collaborate on the software. But that doesn't mean that all instances of the software. Am I speaking Greek, or does this make sense?
Makes sense.
That doesn't mean that all instances of the software are open to anyone who wants to edit them. But there is this question of the data, and so the GTFS data, that's wholly controlled by, even though it's openly available, it's wholly controlled by SKT, and only SKT can publish that data. The OpenStreetMap universe is more interesting, and I suppose less kind of command and control, authoritative sort of structure. And so it is important, actually, to make sure that there aren't mistaken edits that make bad trip plans. And that's what the intergovernmental agreement with TriMet is for them to provide some of that support. And they've successfully been able to do that within the Portland metro area. And I think Wikipedia is a good testament to the power of many eyes making something that seems like it should be dicey actually work pretty well. because if there's a change made, most of the time, if there's a change made in Wikipedia that is bad or self-interested, there's many eyes on that, and many people have edit rights to fix it. So does that answer the question?
Any other questions? Marcia?
I don't think he's done. He said he thought he'd stop and answer questions.
That's right. I wanted to end with a look at the Open Trip Planner Analyst tool. So this will only take 2 minutes, and we're well under the 45 minutes. Is that okay?
That was the minimum.
Okay. So this is a part of Open Trip Planner that's more experimental. It's called Open Trip Planner Analyst, and it's designed for a planner or staff or even a member of the citizenry who wants to take a more perhaps whole look at the transit system in Salem instead of just trip by trip, itinerary by itinerary. So it's possible here to put a start marker on an area of South Salem and get a map that shows me how far I can travel in, say, about 15 and 20 minutes. That's this green area here, and then up to 30 minutes, and then off to 45 and 60 minutes. That's this the yellow and red. So I can see that from South Salem, I can get downtown I can commute downtown in about 30 minutes, and then these other areas of the city are further outlying. And so it's possible to use this tool to put in different data sets and look at how improving a frequency on a certain line changes access to jobs and services in the city for a given population. Or perhaps how adjusting stop spacing or making hard choices like reducing frequencies and part of it, change access throughout the city. So this is a more experimental in development feature, but as other groups, and there are many, TriMet, the World Bank, some East Coast transit agencies investing in this software, as they make those investments, those improvements in OTP Analyst will become available to SKT. So I thought this would be interesting or intriguing to your agency.
Marcia?
Then I have a really hard question. Why Trillium?
Why Trillium? Well, we went through a competitive process.
No. Why the name Trillium?
Oh, why the name Trillium? The name Trillium, so I grew up in Northern California, and the Trillium flower is all throughout the redwood forest. And I actually thought, I've always liked the flower, and I thought that it actually is suggestive of some of what my business does, which is I work a lot with customer information for public transit and data for public transit. And it's very important that those applications and that data are well maintained and that it kind of comes back every year. And it's also, it also is suggestive of this kind of ecosystem approach in terms of what we work with today. There's the open source software that many developers collaborate with. There's Google, there's Bing. And so you have kind of this complicated system of all this data and applications. And so I thought that forest environment was somehow evocative of this environment. There's the best I can do.
That's okay. I like Trilliums too.
I like Trilliums. Anyone else? Hey, Brad.
One of the things that I am interested in is what the city, the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments, some of the other partners might benefit from these tools, and being aware of it, helping them be able to take advantage of it, and that might be something more for Jared. Have you thought about ways that we can involve those communities maybe consultants that do various studies around the city as well?
We have, we've discussed this and shown some examples to the COG, so they've been aware of the work that we're doing. We're also, I was recently asked to sit on an advisory group for the state, because they're coming up, actually Aaron's on that as well. I forgot,
Yeah.
you were there too. To talk about what the statewide we're doing with GTFS and with this transit data going forward. And it's things like what you're seeing right there, but for like multi-agencies, and there's a lot of really neat collaborative potential, and we're trying to be open with where we can with that, and trying to be involved in that larger community.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you so much. Very informative. I'm looking forward to using it. Next item tonight is public comment. Each person has 3 minutes, and we have one person signed up, and David Beam. And you have 3 minutes, David.
My name's David Beam. I'm a disability person in Marion County. I just got appointed for 8 counties for all the disabilities people in Marion County. I'm serving 8 counties in Marion County for transportation issues. But I like to see this board would, after we get back to that billing, I like to see we can get Saturday service back here. Takes 2 years or 3 years. We need to get this back, because a lot of disability people live in Marion County, need services like emergency, like a fire, a flood, earthquakes. How are they going to get out in emergency? So that's my responsibility, serving these people. So this board needs to look at that and make sure everybody be safe in the neighborhoods too, for transportation.
Well, thank you, David. Anyone have any questions of David?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is a consent calendar. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Action items, we don't have any tonight. And information items, we'll start with the, did I miss something? Oh, no. When I hear something out there, I think, well, what did I miss this time? Anyway, information items. The first is a report from the APTA Legislative Conference. And I'll just start off with, each year, the American Public Transportation Association has a legislative conference in Washington, D.C. They bring together the top experts in our field to bring us up to date on the latest information and speculate on what's going to happen in the future. We receive advice from senior members of Congress on what the Congress members we'll be visiting might want to hear from us. We then visit the Hill and make the rounds of the office of our members of Congress and some of the staff offices that we also deal with on a regular basis. This year's conference was probably one of the most informative to me. I had a feeling that everyone on both sides, the members' offices and us, were kind of heading in the same direction. So I'm really hopeful that everything is going to come together for us. And from that, I will leave it. I think John has some comments. He's a newbie in this, so.
Sure. My first time, and who knows, since we are subject to serving at the will of the people, maybe my only time. But when I returned, people asked if it was fun, and the response was no, it wasn't fun. It was good, but it was fun would not be one of the words that you would use to describe it. It was stimulating. It was thought-provoking. It was energizing. Brad, when your chance comes, you'll probably find it good also. We had a host of speakers, and I'm just going to choose one to talk about. We had Mr. Schuster, the chairman of the House Transportation Committee, spoke to us one afternoon. I found that as in the days and weeks that followed the conference, I went back and thought about what he had to say a number of times. And one of the things he had to say was that there wasn't going to be any new revenue for this cycle, which wasn't what I wanted to hear, but I think he's probably accurate. There isn't going to be any new revenue other than possibly little snippets at the edges. What he did say that took me, I hadn't thought about it before, was that this is the first time in a number of years that the Congress has actually had a budget to work with. And in fact, well, the government has been using continuing resolutions to keep funding going. And it's been so long since they've had a budget that a high proportion of the members of the House have never been through a budget cycle before. And I think it's taking them by surprise in a couple of directions. One direction is it's new to them, so there'll be surprises. And I think another area is that the large group of Tea Party Republicans who got elected 4 to 6 years ago, this is really their first budget cycle. And now that particular group in Congress is reluctant to spend money. They got elected on a smaller government, let's not spend money. And as long as they had continuing resolutions to work with, they didn't have much option but to continue as we had in the past. Now they have a budget that they can work with, and they are, I think, finding somewhat to their surprise that the federal government is obliged to spend money on certain things, that it's in the Constitution, and that was what Chairman Schuster brought up, that the Congress is required in the Constitution to deal with ports and harbors and post roads and other kinds of things like that, and they're going to have to spend money whether they agree with it philosophically or not, because well, and the key example of that is the Highway Trust Fund established in the Eisenhower administration that basically paid for all the interstate highway system, is running out of money this summer, and that's something that nobody wants to see go down to zero, because should that happen, then even though it's summer and highway construction time, all those guys get to go home because there's no money to pay them. And that's a thing that's kind of staring the House of Representatives in the face with their Republican leaders. So it'll be interesting to see how they work through that, and they haven't got a lot of time in which to do it. So yeah, I'm eager to see. Now, public transit, the transportation, transit in particular, we've got a couple more months. We'll probably last through the end of the fiscal year, which ends in September. After that, who knows? So yeah, it was an interesting thing, and we should have some dramatic outcomes in the next 3 or 4 months.
Thank you, John. Sue Dreyer also went with us, and she was there on Leadership APTA. Would you like to say anything about your experiences with Leadership APTA or anything else?
Sure, I will. So Leadership APTA is an ongoing workshop type training. This was our second time together. We spent 5 days together, not only at the conference. There are 24 of us that were chosen from across the nation to go through this program. Along with the program, like I said, we also attended the conference, did some hill visits with our own contingencies while we were there. What I thought was very interesting during the conference is that APTA did a wonderful job of really educating all of us to what the message is about ridership going up, transit needing to be funded. And so the joint, everybody together from transit districts, big and large, rural and urban, all across the United States, heading up to the Hill in a couple-day period, was really fantastic, sending that message as one voice. So a really good experience.
And now Alan can straighten everything out that we messed up with.
No, it was a great report. I do have a couple of things I'd like to talk about. One of the things over the last few months we've done here, we focus and work on adopting our legislative agenda. And when you go to the conference, you can really see how it marries into the big picture, and there really is a bigger machine. And our top legislative agenda items were the bus and bus facility program and getting some equity there for smaller operators, the CNG fuel tax credit, along with the commuter parity benefit. And those are top issues with APTA. And so, when we're just here, you hear this, yeah, but then when you go there and you hear all the other agencies are really pushing those things, it's really a strength by numbers. And I think you could really see it when the FTA folks were there and saying they heard loud and clear, yeah, bus and bus facilities needs to be fixed because of the changes they made in MAP 21. So that's the good part for me, because you get to see how you fit into the bigger picture. We also got to hear from the new Secretary of Transportation, Anthony Fox. This was his first APTA event live. He was actually supposed to attend the APTA annual meeting, but because of activities in DC, he wasn't able to make it. So it was great to hear him. And what's so great about him, he was formerly the mayor of Charlotte, who over the last 6 or 7 years has really, from a transit perspective, been an example. They have lots of light rail programs in there. And so he went from being on the side of having to deal with all the federal regulations to now maybe helping influence some of that streamlining to make that a better process. The work continues even though we're back. Our team back in DC, CFM, continues to build those relationships. And I think the visits we made really helped to strengthen our relationship with our delegation, and also help keep us as part of the process when they're thinking about transportation, especially with our delegation, with both senators in key committee positions, can really help us. And I think you heard it in your board committee meetings, but it happened several times at the APTA, my board of directors meeting, at the legislative committee, about Senator Wyden being in his new key committee is really going to pay dividends for transit. And so having him as one of our delegation is really important. So I thought it was a great trip. Both our board members did a great job in representing us. I thought I had some fun, but I enjoy this kind of stuff. But having never been, sometimes I've been to several, so having a new person's perspective is really good to see that, it's really more than just us, and we're part of a bigger machine, and it's great. So that's all my comments.
Thanks, Alan. Hopefully you'll see a lot of movement in the near future as far as getting us funded by the end of the fiscal year, or maybe even before. They promised to do it, and we'll see if they can come through with their promises. Okay, any questions on any of that? I think everybody's been there except Brad now, so. Okay, final update, courthouse square move.
Great. I'll start this off. So the next 10 days are pretty important and will be very eventful. And so we gave you a quick update on the rededication at the work session last week. So I would like to give a kind of a final update on where we're at in the move process, and also for the event next week. So I'll ask Steve Dickey to start that off, and then Lorna will give you the up-to-date changes for the dedication ceremony.
Well, good evening, President Thompson, members of the board. This is an exciting time as has been mentioned already, that we are looking forward to moving back in for some of us. For others, it'll be their first time working in Courthouse Square. But we wanted to bring an update on the activities that will be taking place that are critical to our day-to-day operations and also to our customers. So first, I want to just cover some highlight dates. April 4th will be our last day functioning as far as customer service in our temporary location on High Street. There will be some activity on that day of some items beginning to move, but we will be fully available for the customers during our normal hours of operation on the 4th. On the 5th, on that Saturday, customer service, the rest of the contents of that building that we will be moving into Courthouse Square will be moved. The IT infrastructure will be moved over and set up, and so they can be ready for April 7th, which will be the Monday that our buses begin to operate on the mall. Customer service will be in full operation in the customer service lobby. And immediately following that time will be when the work will begin to restore the perimeter of Courthouse Square and Church Street over by the Statesman Journal, and also near the DAS Executive Building, to restore those back to normal city use purposes. On April 16th, that will be the final packing day for our location on Commercial Street. We will be wrapping everything up. Leading up to that, there will be several days of packing, but this will be the final day. We will be open. Customers still can come in, but we will be encouraging people after the 7th to, if they need to purchase passes or get route information, to go to the customer service location at Courthouse Square. The final day of packing, basic rule of thumb is you can't leave that day until all your things are packed and ready for the movers the next day. April 17th and 18th, there will be only authorized personnel at the current location on Commercial Street and on the 5th floor of Courthouse Square. All other employees will have other arrangements made, either to work in alternate locations or to take time off, because those will be the days the movers will be moving the contents from Commercial Street and moving them into the 5th floor and transferring all the contents over. And then also contents that we are not taking with us will be gathered in the 1st floor of our Commercial Street location for later disposal as surplus property. April 21st will be our first day back in Courthouse Square, and as if anybody has moved recently, you remember what it's like your first day back or into your new location. It takes a little bit of time to get everything up and running, and that's what we will be doing on that day, is unpacking, putting things away, getting things up and functional. But we will be there. Looking for wood, but all our computer network and phones will be functional that day, so we will be able to respond to the customer. The 21st through the 23rd surplus items will be finally organized over in the 1st floor of our Commercial Street location. And at the end of April, we will be no longer occupying the 3rd floor of that location, and that will be turned back to the property owner. May 15th through 17th, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, there will be a garage sale to dispose of the surplus items, and that will be held at the Commercial Street location. And finally, the last thing that we'll be doing, May 19th through the 28th, the last part of May, we'll be doing our final cleanup and preparation that we have to do with our Commercial Street location to turn the 1st floor back over to the owner as well. So, as I said before, customer service will remain open. We will not have a day of interrupted service from our customer service folks. They will stay in operation through the 4th at High Street and open back up again on the 7th at Courthouse Square. The only other thing is that, just as a reminder, that we will be not as accessible on the 17th and 18th. So the public will need to be aware of that, that if they need to have contact with us, the customer service location will be the best location for that to take place, as the rest of our locations will be in a state of transition. So with that, I would entertain any questions.
John?
It's not so much a question as a comment. The ridership on the fixed routes are excited and stimulated by the impending move. It was quite a topic on both the buses I rode today. There is, though, quite a lot of confusion as to where to look for customer service during the transition period. So I see on the handout that you have monitors that will be in the area, and that's one of the things they're going to have to point out on a regular basis is no, it's back in the building.
Yes, and actually, thank you for bringing that up. There will be additional staff that will be serving as transit ambassadors starting on the 7th that will be assisting passengers with the new location and how to get to their bus and how to get to customer service and how the new system will be in operation. One of the things that we just saw earlier today is up and running as a new addition is we will have electronic display screens that will be showing the next 3 departing times for each of the routes that refreshes, Jared, how frequently? Once every minute. So every minute it counts down. When it gets within 5 minutes, it displays. It'll display in red that it is preparing to depart. Anything less than an hour displays in the minutes until the next departure. Anything over an hour displays the time that the next departure will take place. And they look sharp. There are 8 screens on the mall, 2 in the lobby that will be displaying this information.
Marcia, sorry.
Will those screens be up and running during the tours?
We will have something displayed. We are working with Marion County in a cooperative effort to determine what would be the most appropriate.
Well, because one of the things is if you have them, if you have them up and running when you might have people who don't know, the efficiencies and the other things, it's a really good marketing tool.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's only up on the bus mall, because there are not going to be buses there.
And will we be going onto the mall? We aren't, will we? We'll probably be standing out there, I would imagine, or some people will be.
Well, actually, Lorna will be covering what will be happening on that day, so.
Okay.
Wait a minute, we got Kate first.
And the tours, both on the 2nd and 3rd, are open to anyone in the public, correct?
Yes, and I'll let Lorna handle those as well.
okay.
The event's happening on the 2nd and 3rd. Lorna is going to be covering
All right.
the details on that.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
President Thompson and members of the board, I'm back to fill you in on the further details of the rededication. We've been planning fast and furious to get everything ready, and there have been a few changes since we met at the work session. So I think you have a memo in front of you with the updates. It's only 6 days away. The rededication ceremony will be Wednesday, April 2nd from 2 to 3. And we'd like you to arrive no later than 1:45 in the customer service lobby. If you'd like to take the shuttle over, it will be running from the north end of Riverfront Park starting at 1 o'clock, about every 15 minutes. Then there's no worry about parking. But since you'll be early, you'll probably be fine if you're parking downtown. Wear your name tag if you would, please, and business attire is appropriate. We're going to have a professional photographer on hand for the big event. So we anticipate a pretty good turnout. Invitations have gone out by email, by mail, and there's going to be an article in the Statesman Journal on Sunday about the rededication and the reopening of Courthouse Square. And the event is open to the public, of course. So as it stands today, here are some of the details for you and your role. The seating will be, you will be seated in a semicircle on the dais during this ceremony. There will be reserved seating for the other speakers, And we have an additional 50 seats or so for people who need to sit during the ceremony. The speaker list has changed slightly since this memo came out. Alan and President Thompson will represent us. Commissioner Brentano will speak for the county, as will John Latimer. Keith Eberhard with Structural Preservation will not be attending. It will just be Dave Clark, the project manager, who will speak on behalf of SPS. John Latimer did not need to be in there twice. And Jason Brandt from the Chamber of Commerce will be there for the ribbon cutting, and he's going to say a few words on behalf of the chamber. Regarding the ribbon cutting, there may be a slight change from what I'm telling you today, but I'll keep you posted before the event. The thought is to have Alan and John Latimer holding the ribbon while Commissioner Brentano and President Thompson do the cutting, and flanked by members of the board and the Board of Commissioners. Again, I'll update you as that changes. After the ribbon cutting, everybody will be invited to stay for a coffee and cake reception and then to go on the self-guided tours. And so your official role is done at that point, but we sure invite you to come along the tours. I forgot to mention, we will have chariots, carts, and chariot lift vehicles parked on the mall out on the near side of the center island, so they'll be showing off how well they fit into the mall and give a little bit of perspective and show how current our fleet is. Everyone who attends will be given a commemorative booklet on the history and the project altogether on Courthouse Square, and also a commemorative keychain. Employees of the county and employees of Salem-Keizer Transit will also get one. So the self-guided tours are available from 3 to 6. Those are open to the public. And they're also from 9 to 3 on Thursday. We're going to have ambassadors stationed all over the building on the 1st floor, the 5th floor, and I just learned in the basement as well. So people can go down and see the work that was done on the capitals. And we'll have someone stationed there to make sure people don't wander around. We'll limit access to the basement. We're encouraging attendees to use the shuttle. I hope that gets a good response. And I think that's about all I had. What was your question earlier, Jerry?
Did I have one?
I thought you did.
I do have one. Didn't we, weren't we going to have 9 to 6 on Wednesday for the tours?
The decision was made early on to stop the tours at 3.
At 3, okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't, did I have a question? Okay, anyone have any questions or comments?
Just to add, mostly for you, the script is ever changing, and we hope to have a near final one for you tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can all probably expect another memo from me prior to the event, just so you'll be completely up to speed. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorna, for all your work.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we have board and subcommittee reports. Some of them are read and file. And we had no Citizens Advisory Committee meeting since last time. Is that right, John? Or
I'm not on
Brad?
that. Yeah, please go.
Or Steve?
I will comment, though, that is a board committee, and I am concerned. It hasn't had a meeting since last year. The board is obliged to appoint new members to it. We haven't got new members on the list to vet and approve. It makes me wonder how serious we are.
I can tell you that this month's meeting has been switched to allow people to attend the ceremony. We're still recruiting the new members, so we have no one committed yet to bring to the board for approval.
Okay, Mid-Valley Commission on MWAC, Commission on Transportation.
Well, the committee met, I was not there because it was the next to last day of session and things were really crazy. But they did re-elect Ken Woods chair and Kathy Clark vice chair of the committee, and had a status report on the STIP, and then talked about the applications for Connect Oregon, there wasn't really any action. We're going to have another meeting next week with all of the 11 applications from the area. And it's the first time I missed a meeting in 25 years.
That's pretty good,
Thinking
Marcia.
about it. And not having not having an excuse. It was just that it was really crazy over at the Capitol that afternoon.
Who's your alternate? We could have had them maybe go.
I didn't,
You didn't have time to, yeah, I understand.
yeah.
Okay.
But I'm going to make up because Bob's going to have me go to SCAT, so I'll have 2
Serves you right.
So you got 2 meetings.
Okay, the Council of Governments, I met twice with the Council of Governments this month. The first time was in my first Executive Committee meeting. And basically, all we did there was approve 3 contracts and some regular meeting, and the meeting agenda that was coming up 2 weeks later. And during the meeting, we dealt with routine matters. The presenter this month was Lynn McNamara, who's the Executive Director of the City County Insurance Services Liability Insurance Rate Increase and New Hire. I tell you, she's got a title this long. And she was telling us how much insurance was going to go up this year. I think it's something like 16 or 19% or something like that. That's for the I guess the general public insurances or something. Hopefully ours doesn't do that. Is ours going to do that? Say no.
We're still working.
Anyway, hopefully it's not going to affect us that much. And let's see, what do we have? Special Transportation Fund. You went to one meeting, didn't you, John?
Right, we covered that in last month's report.
We did, okay.
This month's meeting was canceled.
Well, we have it's only quarterly.
Right.
So,
that is
yeah.
correct. It was not a meeting.
The SCATS, the Salem-Keizer Area Transportation Study Policy Committee.
And we had a meeting on Tuesday and went through a lot of housekeeping things. We approved the work plan for the next year, and one of the major things was we dealt with the TIP, or the Transportation Improvement Plan project list, and approved 5 projects for that list, actually 6 if funding's available. And the interesting one for transit is that the one to fund replacement of the CNG tanks on 12 of our buses was approved, so we have funding for that project.
That's good. Hopefully we won't have to do it.
No, we have to.
Well, I know. They're going to buy us new buses before then. Right. Well, that's hopefully we can get some buses. And the MPOC, the Oregon Metropolitan Planning Organization, is
that meeting is next Friday.
Next week, yeah. And nothing on the river crossing. Okay. Next item is, let's see, we got Special Transportation Fund Advisory Committee. These are all just receive and file. Board management issues, General Manager.
And my report's going to be focused really on Courthouse Square, because I think I'm spending most of my time there. I can tell you staff and vendors and structural are all over the place trying to do the last minute stuff. Tomorrow I'll be there to hopefully do the final punch list walkthrough for our 5th floor offices. I can tell you almost all the furniture's there. It's looking really good. I think people are gonna like their new work environment, the transit mall. There'll be some last minute work done this Saturday. So it's all coming together. There's lots of excitement from staff and operators to get it done, get it over with. But it's coming together. The dedication, I think, will be a great day for us to really kind of close this chapter and move on to bigger and better things, as we have lots of good stuff coming up with the comprehensive service analysis results and some of our other projects to really focus on some really great operational stuff and allow us to really get back to transit business after all this disruption. Other than that, that's all I have to report.
Well, thanks, Alan. In my report, generally, are you talking to
I didn't mean to press
Siri? Are you talking to Siri over there? What did she
No,
say?
she's talking to me.
Several of us attended the Green Awards dinner at the conference center this last month, and we received our 5th award for the sustainability of the Keizer Transit Center. I think that's 5, isn't it? But who's counting? Yeah, right. Anyway, that was wonderful. That was a wonderful event, and I like the event. I might even go next year. Who knows? Attended the Chamber Policy Committee meeting. Peter Fernandez from the City of Salem, Public Works Director, gave us an update on the streets bond that passed a few years ago and where it stands today. They do have 62 projects remaining to be completed by 2020. And we also had an update on the real estate sales in Oregon and Salem from the Home Builders Associations, Oregon, and I think Salem was the other one. In Salem area, we've had 700 new homes started last year, which is down from 1,000 in 2006. However, it's way up from 167 in 2012. Although Salem is doing better, we are lagging behind the rest of Oregon and the United States as far as new home building. You're probably well aware of that, Steve, right? Yeah. 3 of us attended the executive committee meeting, and we approved change order number 8, which will be the last, right? Last change order for Courthouse Square.
One last.
Oh, I don't want any more. Okay, one last. Number 8 for Courthouse Square, and the action was later approved by the board of directors at the special meeting last week. We also had a special work session, a special board meeting and work session last Monday, and that's my report. And why don't we start with Steve this time? The new leg guy.
Yeah. Well, I'm out and about now. I attended West Salem Business Association meeting, listened to the Salem Council candidates and Polk County Commissioner candidates spoke. Got a chance to interact with them after the meeting and, pitch a little bit of what's important for carts and pull-offs for buses when they do new construction.
Mm-hmm.
So I got our pitch in there.
That's great.
And then I attended the work session, and then I think at one point we had a special session. This all blends together because I was without a car for a while.
Couldn't drive.
Couldn't drive with a hip replacement, so I had a chance to use the bus system and get to know quite a few of the drivers, especially the West Salem folks. But I did learn a lot about not being able to come to meetings here and get home unless I leave at 7 o'clock. So that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I take a cab or get somebody to help me in certain routes in West Salem. But yeah, I had a lot of chances to interact with folks on the buses too. And without a doubt, the biggest thing for them is Saturday service, like everybody else. And I can't tell you how many of them were saying that they have to find another way to work because there's no Saturday service. Some of them work in food service, some work downtown. That was about it. I took my wine out of a barrel and put it in a flex
Put it in
tank
bottles?
to get it ready. And went over and visited my granddaughter and visited my daughter over in Walla Walla this last week and got to drive. Walked on the beach yesterday for the first time in a long time. So that was nice.
Thanks. Brad?
Let's see. So some of the activities that I had this last month include going to the Keizer Chamber of Commerce luncheon, where there were various presentations about business solutions for the community, including a status update on Cover Oregon and efforts by the chamber to support our community. It was good to be there. I think Sadie was also there. Is that one that you were at in the March time frame?
Yeah, she was there.
Oh, and that's right. And Kate was there as well, representing her organization for that. So that was good to be there and have a good transit presence. The Neighborhood Association has also been very active with some parks. We had a parks workshop and a lot of activity. So there's a lot of positive energy with the neighborhood association. And there's also looking at the medical marijuana dispensaries. I don't know if that has any bearing on the transit district, but I know City of Keizer is looking at potential regulations for that. So that's in the public's eye there in Keizer. And I've also talked with various Lane County and City of Eugene and City of Springfield stakeholders with some of my work that I'm doing, and everyone that was at the Gil Penalosa presentation down there was very positive and energetic, and they said on some of their projects that in the City of Springfield there was a significant change in discussion, things that various people were a little bit more hesitant about prior to the meeting. After that presentation by Gil Penalosa, there was quite a turnaround in mentality and discussion, which was good to hear that it had a lot of mobilizing and mindset change results of that presentation.
Thanks, Brad. Kate?
So, for work reasons, I had met with Cindy Astley from the Community Action Agency, and she has a lot to say about youth and how they're impacted about work for the bus. And so she just wanted me to carry the message. They want Saturdays and, more hours to help connect youth to work. So there you go. Just for fun, I did the Shamrock Run and took my husband and the dogs and we carpooled. And there was lots of runners, but nobody had the same T-shirt as me on Saturday. So I went home and realized the 16th was Sunday. And then luckily my husband carpooled again on Sunday, so I could actually be in the Shamrock race. And so I was pleased that we combined fishing and my jogging 2 days in a row. And I went to Sudcor, and like Jerry was saying, the speaker at Sudcor was the economist with the state, and it was the same thing. It was very interesting to hear him say, well, the economy's returned, there's a lot of positive signs, but there's going to be issues with the health care where employers may have a harder time bargaining with employees, and that was interesting. And he also talked about people coming in from Mexico or other countries that less people are having children across the border, so there would be less likelihood to recruit labor in that market. I thought that was interesting. And then the last thing he ended it with was, well, just a reminder, usually and eventually we will have a recession. So it's like, kind of don't get too comfortable with things going well. That was interesting, but I was glad, like Jerry said, to see at least things are going well now. So I'm really excited about the reopening and been sending that out to a lot of people, and everyone's really excited that, we are going to reopen Courthouse Square. And then this week I was in Salt Lake City for a work vacation, and they had the Olympics there. So all the some of the ski resorts where they had the events got redone to an extensive level. But the interesting thing was then they added, I think it's streetcars and trains and a lot of that. And my friend who lives there said that's a great ripple effect, and everybody complained when they put it in and said, oh, nobody will use it, but they love it so much that now they're adding to it and they want to bid for the Olympics again because they want the federal funding to pay for more transportation. So I thought that was interesting.
Thanks, Kate. Marcia?
Like Jerry and others, I went to the Green Awards, and I did think it was fun. We may make it an annual in our family, too, because it was fun. Went to the work session and this special board meeting. I attended the SCAN meeting this month and was timekeeper for the Ward 2 City Council candidates. There are 3 in Ward 2 running, and so there was a fairly good turnout there. It's Women's History Month, and so AUW had a special program with a readers theater highlighting 6 women in history, one of whom was Rachel Carson. And my Kiwanis Club were scorers and readers for the citywide spelling bee for the school district. And so I got to do that opportunity this year, and so that was very good. And I am looking forward, I'm putting a plug in, I'm looking forward to Saturday, going on a bird identification walk with Salem Audubon in the Fairview Industrial Park area. At 8 o'clock in the morning, people can park at Fish and Wildlife, and it's going to be led by 3 of the Salem Audubon Society members. And it's a time of the year when when birds are doing some migrating, so sometimes you find birds that are not there other times of the year. And so there are trails, so it's easy to do walking in the wetlands. And that's sponsored by Pringle Creek Watershed Council, of which I go to the meetings and am a member.
Okay, thanks, Marcia. Bob?
Well, I did some of the same things. I went to the awards dinner, which was very nice, and then I got invited to the Evening in Tuscany, which was a similar program the following Saturday. And also attended the board executive session where we passed the Courthouse Square resolution. Attended a couple city club programs, including the one where they did a recap of the recent legislative session, which was very interesting. And we had Representative Cameron and Clem at the meeting. So it was, both parties were represented, and those are 2 fairly cooperative politicians, so they get along. They're not Tea Party types. I didn't go to the chamber luncheon because it was canceled because the speaker got sick, and participated in the board meeting of the Oregon Association of Rail and Transit Advocates in Portland. Attended the board meeting and work session, and also attended the demo forum and got my picture in the paper for doing that. Just was sitting in the right place at the right time, and also the SCATS meeting, which was Tuesday. So it's been, and I skipped a few meetings because I had a cold one week, and I wasn't really real sick, but I didn't want to share it with a lot of people, so I didn't go to the neighborhood association meetings this month, but I will next month.
Great, thanks, Bob. And John?
Well, pretty much everything that I did has been already talked about. Here, of course, the APTA conference was the highlight of my most recent month. It made sure, though, that I was not able to attend my district's neighborhood association meeting. I'm looking forward to getting in touch with those people again in April. And the 2 things that I have been hearing recently, they're like everybody else, people are very eager to get weekend service restored, and they seem to be aware that in order to do that, there's some money is going to have to be found somewhere. It seems to me that this really is a good time to be looking at finding an additional funding, because the additional service it would provide is so desired. There was another topic that I can't remember what it is. Maybe I'll take a note next time.
Yes, Bob. Do you remember what
I should mention that I had the input from a grief counseling group that had the same thing. These are a lot of older people, and they said that Saturday and Sunday service, especially Saturday service, is a problem for them too.
And I think they'll find allies in this room from everybody, so
Yes.
I don't think that there's any argument about that. The only problem is the money. So, okay, is there anything else to come before us? Nothing? Okay, we are adjourned.
Sorry about.